Well, I have to be honest, and Danielle, it's great to be here. Thank you so much for asking me. I've been saying for a long time that nothing Donald does surprises me, and I think it shouldn't surprise anybody else at this point. But one thing about yesterday's hearing that I thought was interesting was the change in tone. It was more restrained. It was a little bit more cerebral, especially in the first half when there were no live witnesses. But I thought it was a kind of nice, they kind of took the temperature down a little bit and just sort of got into the nuts and bolts, which I think was really effective. The only thing that surprised me, honestly, was when Representative Jamie Raskin, whom, as I said yesterday, nobody could possibly admire more than I admire him.
Honestly.
Right? For so many reasons. He spoke about whether that Donald was leading the Republican Party down this particular path, to which I say, no, no. They are so far gone that, and it's never been about him anyway, in some sense. He's a symptom of a long-standing disease that's been allowed to metastasize. And they don't need him anymore. They are down that path. So that was a sort of surprising misstep from Representative Raskin. And I guess the only other thing that, again, not really shocking, but surprising on its face, although it does make sense if you put it in the right context, was the fact that Donald allegedly directly contacted a witness, presumably to tamper with that witness. So I thought it was kind of funny. But two, I think it suggests that Donald, on the one hand, is quite terrified, and two, is entirely overestimating his ability to get out of the situation.
And I think what that particular hearing revealed is what most of us knew, but it's still sobering and shocking that this violence was premeditated. From what we saw, from the text messages, from Ali Alexander, from the video of Alex Jones, from Steve Bannon, from the right-wing MAGA swamp, that these folks were in some part coordinating with Trump's inner circle, that they were tipped off that January 6th was going to be the day, that folks like the Oath Keeper, a right-wing militia group, were preparing for violence, that the Proud Boys were there. They kept saying 1776. One of the former spokesmen of the Oath Keepers gave a testimony, and he said that's a violent militia that was preparing for an armed revolution. These people came there for a fight. They came there for a violent insurrection. So it wasn't a spontaneous day of. And I think that debunks, oftentimes we get, the zone is flooded with bullshit. Steve Bannon, to quote him, unfortunately. And it kind of undercuts that right-wing talking point that there was no violence there. There was just a bunch of folks there who were just, it was like angry and upset. No, they came with violent intent, and Donald knew about it and seemed to advance it and premeditate it. I think that's huge. And it kind of takes me, moving forward, Mary. You've written 2 books, best-selling books. The first book that you wrote was kind of the psychology of Donald, your uncle. We can't always choose who we're related to.
It's true.
You never can, actually.
And I want to connect it to what you were saying, where the Republican Party is. It seems to me that this man was committed to bringing down democracy by any means necessary, even violence, to stay in power. And is the Republican Party now right there with him?
Absolutely, they are. I've been saying for a long time now, especially when asked before the 2020 election, how bad can things get? I'm like, there's no bottom here. Especially if Donald loses, he's never going to concede. You have no idea how bad things are going to get. We're still there. Now, obviously, if he's somehow contained, that solves the problem. But if he's not, we are in no position to understand just how much worse it can be. And one of the interesting things we learned yesterday, besides how premeditated it was, how many people knew, including those witnesses who are now claiming they were on Team Normal, which is sorry, I was about to swear, which is a joke.
You could swear here. Danielle swears all the time.
Fucking
all
joke, because I call them team complicit just because they, thought Sidney Powell was crazy. Well, no kidding. So there's nothing normal about their behavior either. It's the fact that Donald actually, in a rare move for him, was able to unite the Proud Boys with the Oath Keepers, two organizations that have never united to do anything before. So it just shows you how many people are willing, for many different reasons, I suppose, but Republicans, simply because they want power, are willing to make common cause with somebody as corrupt, incompetent, inept, and horrible as Donald Trump. So the only end in sight is if we can start holding people accountable. And I'm pretty cynical about that at the moment.
I mean, you and me both. I think that one of the things that stood out to me, too, is this consistent narrative that it's not just with the committee, but in general, when people are talking about the Republican Party being, quote, infiltrated by white supremacist organizations. And to me, infiltration would mean that you had no idea, right? Your house becomes infiltrated, with pests, right? You had no idea that there were cracks and breaks. This is not an infiltration. They opened the fucking door. Right? This is not, oh my God, they've been taken over. This is their base. And so I think that language is really important for us to use to be very consistent with not making there be a separation between the Republican Party and the Oath Keepers, the whites, the Proud Boys, and the 3%ers. And so, in saying that, your uncle, Donald Trump, had told them, put them on notice during the campaign when he said to stand back and to stand by. And he was asked multiple times in that debate, will you denounce white supremacy? And his response was to activate the white supremacist that he knew was on his side. And so I actually want to talk about his connection to and love affair with white supremacy, because this goes back to Donald Trump, the slumlord that used to demark on apartment buildings who was colored and who wasn't. So racism is not anything new. But why do you think that, in your opinion, the media doesn't marry the two of these in the way that they should, and they still make it seem as if, oh my God, I was just caught off guard?
Yeah. Well, first of all, I want to emphasize your point. This is the Republican Party. There aren't different wings of it anymore. The entirety of the Republican Party is a white supremacist, fascist party. So it's a joke to say otherwise, and we're deluding ourselves if we think that there are any moderates or any sane people or any Republicans left worth working with, because to claim that bipartisanship is a good thing, or to try to achieve bipartisanship at this point, is to make common cause with fascists and white supremacists. And as Mr. I can't remember his name, the guy who testified yesterday, Tottenhoven, something like that.
Yes, Van Tottenhove.
Thank you. I really liked what he said. We can't mince words. We have to be direct about this. We have to use the proper language. And that is absolutely true. I know you guys do that all the time and turn some people off, but you know what? We all need to get on board with what is really happening. As for Donald, the media's ability to absorb the worst things about people like Donald and do nothing with it, right? That I found that maddening in 2015 and 2016. One, because I've known him my whole life, and two, because as a New Yorker, I know just how terrible he was as a businessman. I saw, my grandparents were racist. I was at their house all the time. Everybody in the family was racist. We know about what he did with the exonerated five. So none of this is a secret. But we saw in real time that one of the reasons the media has have a blind spot is because, well, there are two reasons. One is because they need to normalize everything.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they have a very difficult time being honest, unless it's, Hillary Clinton or Black people. But a white man, they just don't understand how to present him honestly if it's going to make white people in general look bad. And the reason for that, of course, is because this is a white supremacist country that has never reckoned with its history and present of white supremacy. So it isn't surprising, but it explains a lot why we keep failing to make any progress along these lines.